Always worried that there's not going to be anything to film, but there always is. But Trinity's cutting out all my voice. I won't publish my voice. Trinity can just narrate over the top.
Hi, I'm Trinity Anderson, the producer and narrator of Plog. I usually use these videos to keep my friends up to date with what I've found in my mother's old diaries.
In memory of the men who lost their lives in the box flat explosion on the 31st of July 1972.
But just for a few minutes, I want to talk about something else first. Because David and I are filming this episode at the Box Flat Mine Disaster Memorial. And if I've learned anything while plogging in places like this, it's that some stories demand to be told before your own. The Box Flat Mine explosion happened on the 31st of July 1972.
Looks like their wives were buried here too.
It was the worst mining disaster in Queensland's history.
No rubbish.
17 men died underground, and one more later in hospital. Most of them were killed instantly by a violent gas and coal dust explosion that tore through the mine in the early hours of the morning. One body was never recovered. That's how destructive the blast was. At the time, there were warnings, reports of spontaneous combustion down there. And still, men were sent in. Investigations would later point to management errors, inadequate sealing of fire areas, and just poor communication. But it doesn't really matter what they say now. What matters is that it happened, that it ended lives, that it devastated families, that it still leaves a mark on this land. The memorial here is quiet. No fanfare, no grand gestures. Just a stone slab etched with names and a plaque that doesn't pretend to explain the loss, just acknowledges it. The area is still surrounded by old rail lines and tangled bush, slowly overtaking what once was.
Cut styrofoam. It's always styrofoam. Always styrofoam, Trinity.
You wouldn't know unless you stopped. That's why we stopped. Lizzie and David were only just starting school when the box flat explosion happened. They would have just met, two kids in Greenacre in Sydney, barely 9 years old. That school photo from the last episode? It was probably taken around the same time. Somewhere in those uncertain weeks, one friendship was beginning, while another 17 lives were ending underground. Strange, isn't it, how the timelines cross like that?
I reckon over this way. Let's go, Trinity.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Now, back to my mother's story. After filming that last episode at the Turitea lookout, David and I flew back to Australia. I'd brought two of Mum's old school diaries with me to New Zealand and didn't get the chance to dig much deeper. But once we got home, I started going through more of them, searching for what came after that heartbreaking last entry when she was 9. Instead, I found one from much later, written just after she turned 16. By then, no one called her Lizzie anymore, not even her mum. She was Liz. The diary opens with pages about a guy, Matt Pappas, 6 years older than her. I had to read that twice. 6 years. She'd met him through a friend of a cousin or something like that. The details are scattered. But what's not scattered is how intense it was. This wasn't sneaking out to see a corner store that got shot up with a shotgun, like she and David did when they were little.
Stop pointing my butt at the camera.
This was sneaking out because she knew she wasn't safe at home.
Take a bit of styrofoam. I reckon that came from the same thing. More styrofoam, mowed up styrofoam.
And because she believed Matt might be a way out. There were prices to pay. The price of innocence and the price of security.
No, it's rock.
Her mum found out about Matt. And instead of talking to Liz about it, she called Liz's dad. He'd mostly moved in with another woman by then, but was still technically married to Liz's mum. Liz wrote in the diary, "When Mum calls him, she gets what she wants."
Is the sign for the box flat memorial? Oh, that's probably a good shot. Look at that crow.
And what she wants is control.
Morning, crow.
He won't ask why. He'll just drive straight over and knock. Liz knew what that knock meant.
Always worried that there's not going to be anything to film, but there always is.
So she planned an escape. Matt couldn't pick her up near her house. It was too risky. They arranged to meet outside the Wiley Park pub at closing time. Risky, but better than waiting for her father to find her. Liz climbed out her bedroom window just after 9 p.m. She wrote about it in almost cinematic detail. Her mum had just turned down the TV for evening prayers. Maronite Catholic, intense, and utterly commanding in her communion with God.
Trinity's cutting out on my voice. So I'd like to use these videos as a way of recording a journal for myself. And I won't even publish it. I won't publish my voice. Trinity can just narrate over the top.
Liz knew she had about 30 minutes. That's how long her mum would pray before knocking on Liz's door and declaring, "Lights out, now." No second warning. And if she didn't comply, the shib came next. The slipper. Liz wrote, "If I'm fast, it gets thrown. If I'm slow, it lands." She crept through Parry Park. It was cold, the skies clear, no one out. She called it a miracle of silence. She didn't even hear a dog bark. Then she waited. 20 minutes outside the pub. That's a long time when you're 16, running away, with the full force of your mother's rage already surging behind you in your mind. Liz kept imagining her mother flinging open her bedroom door, realizing the room was empty, and grabbing the phone. She imagined her father's car screeching into their street. Then Matt showed up. They didn't talk. They just ran to the car, a beaten-up Datsun 120Y parked in the gravel car park behind the pub. Liz saw someone as they dashed through the gate, a man struggling to unlock a chain from a bicycle. She wrote, "It took me a second to realize who it was. David's dad, too drunk to stand, still wearing his work boots. He looked at me, but I'm pretty sure that to him I was just a blur." That hit me harder than I expected. It's one thing to read about her escaping. It's another to picture her passing the father of the boy who once helped her feel safe. That contrast, it's haunting. They drove. She didn't say much about the first couple of hours, just that Matt kept glancing at her but said nothing. She stared out the window, heart thumping, expecting blue and red lights at every petrol station. They made it to Port Macquarie that night, pulled into a quiet car park near the foreshore. Matt fell asleep in the back seat, and Liz sat up front, writing. Her diary glows with tension and adrenaline and disbelief. She wrote, "I'm here. I made it out. I don't know what comes next, but I'm not going back." That was the end of that entry, the end of that diary. I don't know how long they stayed in Port Macquarie. I haven't found the next diary yet. I'm sorting through them, trying to find an order, but the notes and drafted articles between the diary entries make it really hard. And I've got my own study and full-time work eating up time. Thousands of pages. No numbering. No system. Just scribbles and ink and emotion. I flick through for where she's written dates. But I'll find order eventually. I'll keep tracing her steps. I'll need David's help.
Not a bit of styrofoam.
But he usually leaves me to struggle until I'm stumped. Struggle is part of the answer to the riddle of steel, he says. Getting up before dawn to visit places like this is too, I think. And that's what I wanted to share today. A place where lives were lost. And a story where one life tried to break free.
I reckon I'm going to get an awesome sunrise shot as soon as I look up. There we go. Here comes the sun with styrofoam. It's all right. Well, it's not really.